People like you with no wow and little education aren't welcome in this house. Those were the cruel words my mother-in-law said to me. And right after that, without a second of hesitation, she poured hot water on me. I cried out in shock and pain. "It's hot. Please stop." The burning sensation hit me instantly. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Was this real? Did she really just do that? I stood there frozen, soaked and shaking. Her behavior was beyond shocking. Who does something like that? Pouring boiling water on someone. What kind of person does that to another human being? Thankfully, I wasn't seriously burned, but honestly, that didn't make it any better. Because the worst pain wasn't on my skin, it was deep inside. It was the humiliation, the betrayal, the feeling that I was nothing to her. I couldn't understand how she could treat me like this. And what hurt even more, what she said wasn't even true. I wasn't the one who was unemployed. It was her son, my husband Diesel. He had lost his job months ago, and I'd been working nonstop to support this family. But there I was, being treated like trash, blamed, insulted, and now assaulted. Something inside me snapped. All the frustration I had swallowed day after day started to boil over. I felt my hands clench and my chest tighten. I had taken enough. So I stood up straight and looked her in the eye. My voice trembled, but I didn't back down. "If this is how you feel about me," I said, "then I'll leave. You win." And what did she do? She smiled. She actually smiled. "Finally, you're leaving. That makes things easier for me," she said, like she had just been waiting for this moment. Her reaction hit me harder than the water did. No guilt, no shame, just satisfaction. That was when I realized I had never been welcome in that house. Not truly, not in her eyes. There was nothing left to say. No reason to stay. I turned away and started packing my things. That same day, I walked out of that toxic house, out of that cold, cruel place they called a home. What made it even harder to accept was that everything she said was completely wrong. It wasn't me who was unemployed. It was Diesel, my husband. He had lost his job, but I didn't complain. I didn't throw it in his face or tell anyone. I kept working hard to support both of us, and his mother too. I cooked, cleaned, did laundry, and took care of everything in the house, and I was still the one bringing in the money. But even after all that, I was the one being blamed. I was the one being insulted. Her words, her eyes, her actions, they made me feel like I was worthless, like I didn't belong there. But the truth was, if it weren't for me, that house wouldn't have survived. She had no idea. She thought I was just some lazy woman living off her son. But I was the one making sure the bills got paid. I was the one making sure food was on the table. I was the one keeping everything going while she treated me like garbage. I stood there listening to her cruel words echo in my mind, and I felt something shift inside me. Anger, hurt, and finally, a line being crossed. She didn't just misunderstand me. She didn't just dislike me. She hated me. And worse, she looked down on me. That's when I knew I didn't deserve this. I didn't have to stay. I had nothing to prove to her, and I wouldn't let myself be treated like this ever again. My anger started to grow. I had stayed silent for so long, tried to be respectful, tried to understand, but now I felt like I had reached my limit. I couldn't take it anymore. Her words, her actions, they were just too cruel. And the worst part, she showed no sign of regret. None, not even a little. I realized there was no point trying to fix anything. There was no way to make her see the truth. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I contributed, she had already made up her mind about me. I stood there, still wet from the water she had thrown, shaking, quaking, not just from the pain, but from the sheer weight of everything that had been building up. And I made a choice. I looked her in the eyes and said, "If this is how you feel about me, then I'll leave. You win." My voice was calm, but inside I was falling apart. She didn't flinch. She didn't even hesitate. In fact, she looked relieved. "Finally, you're leaving," she said. "That makes things easier for me." That was it. No apology, no hesitation, just satisfaction. Her cold reaction hit me harder than anything else. In that moment, I knew there was no saving this. I didn't want to stay in a place that treated me like this. I didn't want to be around people who only saw me as a burden. So without wasting any more time, I walked to my room and packed my things. I didn't say another word, and she didn't try to stop me. I left that house with nothing but a small suitcase and the clothes on my back. But even with so little in my hands, I felt lighter because I knew I was leaving behind something far heavier. I went straight back to my parents' house, and for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I went back to my parents' house that same day. They were surprised to see me standing there with my suitcase. I hadn't called ahead. I hadn't told them anything, but they didn't ask questions. They just looked at me, really looked, and saw everything I was trying to hold in. My mom hugged me tight. My dad quietly took my bag, and just like that, I was home. There was no shouting, no cold stares, no judgment, only warmth. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't cry in front of them, not right away. I just sat in my old room, staring at the ceiling, letting the silence wrap around me. It felt so strange to be in a place where I didn't have to defend myself every minute, where no one was watching and waiting to tear me down. But deep inside, I still had a storm of emotions. Anger, hurt, sadness, and above all, disappointment. What hurt most was that Diesel hadn't even tried to stop me. He didn't call, he didn't text, he didn't come after me. Days passed, then weeks. Still nothing. At first, I kept checking my phone, hoping maybe just one message, one call, maybe something that showed he still cared. But there was nothing. And slowly, something in me started to shift. The pain turned into clarity. The hope turned into truth. And the truth was, I didn't miss him anymore. I had carried the weight of everything for so long. Now I was finally setting it down. What my mother-in-law didn't know was that I wasn't helpless. She thought I was just a useless daughter-in-law with no job, no future. Someone who depended on her son for everything. Someone she could look down on. But the truth was, I was the one supporting her whole household. After Diesel lost his job, I didn't sit around and cry about it. I didn't blame him. I didn't tell anyone. I just found a way. I used what I had learned when I worked at the securities company and started trading stocks. At first, it was difficult. I made some mistakes. There were nights I barely slept, mornings I wanted to give up. But I didn't. And little by little, it started working. I got better. And soon I was making around $50,000 a month. Yes, me, the daughter-in-law she kept yelling at, the one she told to get out of her house. I never once asked her for money. I never asked for help. I was the reason the bills were paid. I was the reason there was food on the table. I was the one carrying everything while she insulted me every single day. And still, I said nothing. But that day, when she poured hot water on me and kicked me out of her house like I was nothing, I made a promise to myself. Even if she came to me one day begging for money, I wouldn't give her a single cent. She had shown me exactly how she saw me, and I would never forget that. From that moment on, I decided, I don't owe her anything. I don't owe Diesel anything. And I don't have to feel bad for walking away. Diesel and I had been married for about 3 years. We met in university, both of us majoring in economics. Back then, he was smart, kind, and always full of energy. We started talking during a group project and ended up spending more and more time together. Before I knew it, we were dating. After graduation, we both got jobs at different finance companies. We were busy, but we made time for each other. We worked hard, but we also dreamed together about the future, about building a life side by side. I still remember the day he proposed. It was simple, nothing fancy. He looked at me and said, "Angela, I'll make you happy. Please marry me." And I believed him. I thought, this is it. This is the man I'll build a family with. This is the one I'll grow old with. So I said yes, with all my heart. Back then, I didn't think too much about the hard times that might come. I just believed in us. I thought as long as we were together, we could handle anything. I was excited to get married, to start our own family, to live as husband and wife, build a home that was ours. But not long after we got married, Diesel came to me with something unexpected. "Angela," he said, "would you quit your job and move in with me at my mom's house?" I was surprised. "What? I don't mind quitting my job, but we're newlyweds. I thought we'd live just the two of us." "I know," he said, "but I'm worried about leaving my mom alone. Don't worry, I'll make sure it's not hard on you." His dad had passed away when Diesel was in middle school. He'd lived with his mom ever since. He was her only child, and I understood why he felt responsible for her. So I agreed. I told him, okay, I'll live with you and your mom. I wanted to support him. I wanted to be a good wife. I thought maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but deep down, I was a little nervous. And looking back now, I wish I had listened to that feeling. 3 weeks later, we moved into Diesel's family home. At first, it seemed okay. His mother greeted us at the door with a smile. At least, she smiled at Diesel. As soon as she looked at me, her expression changed. Her smile disappeared and her eyes turned cold. She didn't say anything directly to me, but I could feel it. She looked at me like I didn't belong there. I think she muttered something under her breath. I couldn't hear it clearly, but it sounded like, "You didn't need to come here." I pretended not to notice. I smiled politely and tried to stay positive. But deep down, I already felt uneasy. That first day passed without any major problems. I kept quiet, followed her lead, and did my best to be respectful. But the next morning, everything changed. I was still sleeping when I heard someone shouting, "Are you still sleeping? Hurry up and make breakfast." I opened my eyes, confused. I looked at the clock. It was only 5 a.m., still dark outside. I got out of bed, still half asleep, and went to the kitchen. I tried to cook quickly, even though I was still tired. I didn't want to cause any trouble. I just wanted to keep the peace. But she stood behind me the whole time, watching every move I made. "Hurry up," she snapped. "Why are you so slow?" Her voice was sharp, impatient. I felt nervous and rushed. I tried to stay calm and keep going. After about 20 minutes, breakfast was finally ready. "I'm sorry for making you wait," I said politely. "You finally finished? Can't you do anything faster?" she complained again. Her words stung, but I said nothing. I just nodded and sat down to eat with her, but it didn't stop there. As soon as she tasted the soup, she frowned. "What is this?" "The soup is too salty," she said, glaring at me. I, I don't think it's that salty," I replied, trying to be careful with my words. "What are you saying? Are you saying something is wrong with my taste? Are you trying to kill me by feeding me this salty food?" I was stunned. I had never said anything like that. I never even thought about doing anything to upset her. Why was she accusing me like this? Why was she being so harsh? After that morning, things only got worse. From that day on, my mother-in-law treated me like a servant. She ordered me around from morning till night. The moment I finished one thing, she gave me another. "Finish eating, then clean the dishes. After that, there's laundry to do," she said. "There's no time to rest." She criticized everything I did. When I cleaned the house, she would say, "You missed dust in the corners." When I did laundry, she'd point out, "There's still a stain here. Are you even doing it properly?" I tried to do my best, I really did. But no matter what I did, it was never enough. Her words cut me every day, little by little. I started waking up every morning with a heavy chest, wondering what I'd be scolded for next. And the worst part? Diesel never said anything. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until we were alone in our room and finally said something. "Diesel, I need to talk to you," I began gently. "Your mother has been saying really harsh things to me every day. It's really hard for me. Could you please ask her not to speak to me like that?" I thought he'd say something. I thought he'd comfort me. But he didn't. He said nothing. "Diesel, are you listening?" I asked again, feeling more and more hurt. That's when I noticed. He looked pale, like something was weighing on him. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" I asked softly. He hesitated, then finally said, "Actually, I've been fired." I froze. "What? Is this some kind of joke?" He shook his head. "No. The company laid off a lot of employees. Profits dropped. They had to downsize. And I lost my job." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So he was unemployed this whole time. And he didn't tell me? I sat in silence, struggling to process it all. The weight on my shoulders felt even heavier now. But I didn't have time to fall apart. Thankfully, I had been using what I learned at the securities company to trade stocks. At first, it was tough. I made mistakes, but slowly, I improved. Eventually, I started earning about $50,000 a month. Because of that, we weren't struggling financially. I took care of everything. Quietly, steadily. Even while I was being insulted every day, I focused on supporting Diesel. I tried to forget the harsh treatment from his mother. I told myself I had to stay strong for him. A month passed and Diesel officially became unemployed. At first, he made some effort. He said he was applying for jobs. But as time went on and I noticed him staying home more and more, I gently asked, "Shouldn't you take your job search more seriously?" "I'm looking," he said, "but it's hard to find a company that suits me." His words felt like excuses. I didn't say anything, but inside I felt frustrated. And as Diesel became more passive, his mother became more aggressive. She criticized me constantly. I started feeling exhausted, drained, unhappy. At first, I thought I had to endure it for Diesel. But the more time passed, the more I realized I didn't want to keep enduring anything anymore. One morning, Diesel left the house earlier than usual. It was strange. He hadn't been going out much lately, so I thought maybe he was finally starting to take his job search seriously. After he left, I got started on my usual chores. While I was cleaning, my mother-in-law sat on the living room sofa sipping coffee. "Make sure you clean properly," she snapped. "Don't miss any spots." I tried to ignore her, kept my head down, and continued. But then, out of nowhere, she exploded. "How dare you ignore me? You're just a mere daughter-in-law. You don't even have a real job," she shouted. I stayed quiet. I didn't want to argue. I just kept wiping the table. But she got angrier. "Unemployed and useless people like you have no place in this house. You should leave," she screamed. Before I could even respond, she grabbed the pot of boiling water she had prepared for her coffee and poured it on me. The hot water splashed onto my arm. "It's hot! Please stop!" I screamed, backing away. The pain shocked me, but more than anything, I was in disbelief. She actually did it. She poured boiling water on me. I stood there, stunned, my heart racing. It wasn't just the pain, it was the realization that she had completely lost any respect or humanity for me. And worst of all, she didn't even look sorry. She smirked and said, "This is what I've been saying all along. If you're not working, you should leave this house." Her words hit harder than the water, but I didn't cry this time. I didn't beg. I took a deep breath and said, "Fine, I'll leave." "Good," she replied, looking almost pleased. "That makes things easier for me. Leave quickly." I didn't want to spend another second in that house. I went straight to the bedroom, packed up my things, just the basics. I didn't even take everything. I didn't care. I just wanted to get out. That same day, I left. I headed straight to my parents' house without looking back. When I arrived, my parents were shocked to see me. They weren't expecting me, but the moment they saw my face, they knew something was wrong. They welcomed me without questions. They didn't ask what happened right away. They just made space for me, gave me a warm meal, let me rest. And I felt safe, finally. I waited, thinking maybe Diesel would call or send a message or ask if I was okay. But he didn't. Days passed, then weeks, still nothing. And the longer I stayed away, the more I realized something. I didn't miss him, not even a little. One morning very early, the doorbell at my parents' house rang. I went to check the monitor, and when I saw who it was, I froze. It was Diesel and my mother-in-law, standing outside. I stared at the screen in silence. After all this time, what were they doing here? I pressed the intercom. "Yes? What do you need?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. My mother-in-law answered loud and bold, "I've forgiven you. Now come back home." Forgiven me? I was stunned. Forgiven for what? I hadn't done anything wrong. I took a breath and replied calmly, "Thank you for saying that, but I don't think I've done anything that needs forgiving." Then I ended the intercom. But they didn't leave. She started banging on the door, yelling again, "Don't hang up on me. Let us in. Come back with us." Worried they'd go wake the neighbors, I opened the door. I let them in and led them to the living room. They sat down. I stood. I looked at them, still confused. "Why are you here? What's going on?" My mother-in-law looked at me like I was being childish. "You told me to leave," I said firmly. "There's no way I can just come back now." She waved her hand like it was nothing. "I've forgiven you, and I'm willing to let someone like you, unemployed, uneducated, live in my house again." That was it. I couldn't take any more of her twisted view of the world. I looked her in the eyes and said, "I'm not the one who's unemployed. It's your son, Diesel." Diesel's eyes widened. He looked shocked. like he didn't expect me to say that. And from the look on her face, I could tell she didn't know. What? She turned to Diesel. Is this true? Diesel nodded slowly. She's been supporting us this whole time. My mother-in-law's face turned red with anger. You're worthless! Why didn't you tell me this earlier? What are we supposed to do now? Diesel tried to calm her down. It's fine for now. Angela's income is enough, he said. His words made it worse. She shouted louder, calling him useless, blaming him for everything. The two of them argued right there in my parents' living room. It was too much. I stepped in and said, take this argument back to your house. You're in someone else's home. You're being too loud. They quieted down a little. Their confident attitude faded, and then they started begging. Diesel looked at me. Angela, please, let's go back. We'll fix everything. My mother-in-law said she wouldn't treat me badly anymore. They both promised things would change, but I didn't believe them. Not anymore. I stood there looking at the two of them. I had heard enough. Their words didn't mean anything to me now. I had been through too much. I had given too much, and I had reached my limit. I walked out of the room, leaving them in silence. After about 6 minutes, I came back. They were still sitting there, heads down, quiet. I looked at Diesel and handed him a piece of paper. He looked confused at first, but when he saw what it was, his face changed. It was a divorce form, already filled out, already signed by me. He stared at it. Wait, what is this? It's a divorce form, I said plainly. I've had enough. He looked shocked. Please, this is too sudden. Sudden? I replied. You didn't even contact me once after I left. Not a call, not a message, nothing. He stayed quiet. I'm divorcing you, Diesel. No matter what you say, I've made up my mind. He still looked like he couldn't believe it. Isn't divorce too harsh? He asked, almost like he still didn't get it. No, I said coldly, it's not. This is your fault. Then I turned to his mother. She didn't say anything, but her face said it all. She knew. In the end, Diesel signed the papers. Before he left, he said one last thing. Don't regret this later. But I just looked at him and said, the one who might regret this is you. 3 weeks after the divorce, I got a phone call. It was from my ex-mother-in-law. Her voice sounded different this time, nervous, shaky. The electricity and gas have been cut off, she said. Did you do something? I answered calmly. I stopped paying for you and Diesel, that's why. There was silence on the line. Then her tone changed. She tried to sound softer. Can you help us just for a little while, please? I could hear the desperation in her voice. She was hoping I'd step in, just like I used to, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I told her no. I said, ask Diesel. He said he'd get a job and support you. She didn't understand. She kept asking, kept begging. You were my daughter-in-law. You can't just abandon us. But I could, and I did. I ended the call, and then I blocked her number. After that, I decided to cut all ties. No more messages, no more guilt. I had done enough. From that day on, life at my parents' house became calmer. I focused on myself, on rebuilding, on moving forward. A few months later, I was on holiday, relaxing and checking some stock charts when I got a message. It was from Diesel. He said he was sorry. He admitted he had relied on me too much. He told me he finally found a job at a factory. He also said that his mother was still treating him poorly. Then he asked, would you come back? I read the message once, then again, and then I blocked his number too. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just peace. About 5 months after the divorce, a friend introduced me to someone new. He was a little older than me, kind, reliable, respectful. He didn't rush anything. He didn't pressure me. We weren't thinking about marriage right away, but we spent happy, quiet days together. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I felt free. I wasn't looking back anymore. I wasn't stuck in the past. I wasn't angry. I had let go, and I was ready to live my life for me.